Right now, somewhere in the world, a fully grown adult is lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, too scared to get up and turn off the light. Not a child, not someone with a diagnosed anxiety disorder, just a normal, functioning, intelligent adult who has a phone, a locked door, electricity, and zero actual threats within 100 miles, still lying there, unable to shake the feeling that something is in the dark. And the strangest part is, you probably know exactly what that feels like. So why? Why does the dark still do this to us? Why does turning off the light in an empty room make the hair on the back of your neck stand up? We know there is nothing there. We checked, and yet the feeling comes anyway. The answer starts a very long time ago. Not a few decades, not a few centuries. We need to go back to a world before electricity, before walls, before cities, before anything humans built to separate themselves from the night. For nearly all of human existence, and we are talking hundreds of thousands of years, there was no such thing as a safe place after dark. When the sun went down, the world did not just get darker, it became something else entirely. And in that world, something was almost always waiting. Almost every major predator that hunted humans was either nocturnal or far more active at night. Lions, leopards, hyenas, wolves, crocodiles lurking near water sources, cave bears, saber-toothed cats in earlier periods. These animals did not just prefer the dark, they were built for it. Their eyes were designed to function in conditions that left humans essentially blind. A lion can see clearly in light 6 times dimmer than what a human needs. A leopard can spot movement in near total darkness. A hyena has hearing so sharp it can track prey by sound alone across open ground at night. These animals were not disadvantaged by the dark. The dark was their advantage, and humans had almost nothing to counter it. We have no claws, no fangs worth mentioning. We cannot run fast enough to escape most large predators over any real distance. Our hearing is average. Our sense of smell is poor compared to almost every animal that hunted us. And our night vision is among the worst of any large mammal on the planet. When the sun went down, a human standing outside was not brave. A human standing outside at night, alone, away from fire, was simply a slow, nearly blind, defenseless animal waiting to be found. So the brain did something extraordinarily intelligent. It learned to be afraid of the dark itself. Not afraid of the lion specifically, not afraid of the sound in the bush specifically, afraid of darkness as a condition, because darkness meant that anything could be there. And a brain that treated darkness as automatically dangerous kept its owner near the fire, inside the shelter, quiet and still and alive, while a brain that felt comfortable wandering into the darkness at night got its owner killed. Over thousands and thousands of generations, the cautious ones survived. The fearless ones did not make it to morning. This is the core of what scientists call an evolved fear response. The fear of the dark is not a cultural idea that gets passed down through stories. It is not something children learn from frightening movies. Research has shown that fear of the dark appears in children across every culture on Earth, including isolated communities with no exposure to horror films or ghost stories. It appears at roughly the same developmental stage everywhere. Around 2 years old, children who were previously unbothered by darkness suddenly become afraid of it. Not because something scared them, because the brain is maturing and switching on programs that were written into our biology hundreds of thousands of years before any of us were born. And here is where it gets even more interesting. When you walk into a dark room today, your bedroom, a hallway, a basement, your brain does not know it is a safe house in the 21st century. Your brain runs a program that is ancient. It starts scanning. It starts listening harder. It starts filling in what it cannot see. And because it genuinely cannot see anything, it starts imagining things. The coat hanging on the chair starts to look like a figure. The curtain moving slightly in a breeze starts to look like something breathing. The pile of clothes in the corner starts to look like something crouching. Scientists have a name for this. It is called pareidolia, the tendency of the brain to find shapes, faces, and creatures in ambiguous visual information. And the reason it happens more intensely in the dark is because the brain would rather invent a threat and be wrong than miss a real one and be dead. The part of your brain responsible for all of this is called the amygdala. Think of it as your brain's threat detection system. The moment light levels drop significantly, the amygdala activates. It sends signals throughout the body. Your heart rate increases slightly. Your hearing sharpens. Your pupils dilate to let in more light. Your body releases a small amount of adrenaline. Your muscles tense. Everything in your biology shifts into a state of readiness. You are not imagining this reaction. You are not being irrational. Your own biology is producing this response on purpose, because for most of human history, that response kept people alive. Now, you might think, surely this is an overreaction. I am an adult with perfectly good reasoning skills. I know my bedroom is safe. And you are right. But consider the calculation your brain is making. What is the cost of being wrong in each direction? If the brain assumes danger and there is none, you lose some sleep. You feel a little uncomfortable for a few minutes. You turn on a light. If the brain assumes safety and there actually is danger, you die. Evolution is not interested in your comfort. Evolution only cares about survival. And a brain that consistently overestimates danger in the dark is far more likely to survive than one that consistently underestimates it. So, over hundreds of thousands of years, natural selection built a brain that always bets on danger when it cannot see.
This also explains one of the most universal human behaviors in history, fire. Humans are the only species that deliberately creates and maintains fire. And one of the most important reasons is not warmth and not cooking, though both matter enormously. It is light. Firelight pushes the darkness back. It creates a boundary between the known safe space and the unknown dangerous space outside. Archaeologists have found evidence of controlled fire use going back at least 400,000 years. Some evidence suggests even earlier. For hundreds of thousands of years, the campfire was not just a source of heat. It was the thing standing between a sleeping human and everything the darkness contained. The relief you feel when you turn on a light in a dark room is not trivial. It is an echo of something your ancestors felt every single night for hundreds of thousands of years when the fire held on through until morning. Children fear the dark more intensely than adults, and this is worth understanding properly. It is not because children are weaker or less rational. It is because they have not yet accumulated enough lived experience to override the fear signal with evidence. A child's brain has not yet built up thousands of nights of waking up in a dark room and finding nothing there. Every night is still, somewhere deep in their wiring, genuinely uncertain. Adults have done this enough times that the brain has quietly learned to reduce the alarm signal. The fear does not disappear, it just gets quieter. But give any adult a genuinely unfamiliar dark environment, a strange house, a forest at night, a basement they have never been in, and the original signal comes back, loud and clear, because the brain no longer has enough evidence to override it. There is also something that nobody talks about when discussing the fear of the dark. The darkness itself is not actually what the brain fears. What it fears is what might be in the darkness, the uncertainty, the inability to gather information, the loss of the sense humans rely on most, vision. Blind people, interestingly, often report significantly reduced fear of darkness, not because they are braver, but because their brains have adapted to operate without visual information and have stopped treating its absence as a signal of danger. The fear of the dark is really a fear of the unknown, expressed through the specific vulnerability that darkness creates. And this connects to something much deeper in human psychology. Humans are profoundly uncomfortable with uncertainty in general. We fill silence with noise. We fill gaps in stories with assumptions. We fill dark rooms with imaginary shapes. The brain cannot tolerate a void of information, especially when survival might depend on what that void contains. This is also why scary movies work. Horror films do not actually show you the monster for most of their runtime. The most effective horror keeps the threat in the dark, just out of frame, implied, but not shown, because the brain's imagination, running on its ancient fear software, will construct something far more terrifying than any filmmaker could render on screen. The darkness is the tool. What you personally imagine filling it is the actual source of the fear. Every person watching the same horror film is, in a sense, watching a slightly different movie, the one their own ancient brain is generating in the spaces the director deliberately left empty. So the next time you are lying in bed and you feel that small, irrational pull of fear because the room is a little too dark, remember what it actually is. It is not a flaw. It is not weakness. It is not something broken in you. It is a 200,000-year-old program running exactly as it was designed to run. Every ancestor you have ever had, going back further than language, further than tools, further than fire itself, survived the night. Every single one of them made it through the dark long enough to pass their genes forward to the next generation. The brain that gets uncomfortable in the dark is the brain that kept your entire bloodline alive through some of the most dangerous nights in the history of this species. The dark is safe now, but the brain that fears it is the exact reason you are here, to be afraid of it.